everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with another reading vlog, and that is going to be for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. As most of you know, this is book 2 in the Harry Potter series. I have been doing a reading vlog series where I have been documenting my experience rereading the entire Harry Potter series for the very first time. Actually, I have only read these books once and my reading experience is kind of weird. I talked about it in my Philosopher's Stone reading vlog, but basically I read the first 4 books in the series way back when the first couple of movies were coming out, and then I just stopped reading after that. I don't remember why, but then I picked up the 5th, 6th, and 7th book the year I was graduating high school, which was back in 2011. So yeah, my reading experience is a little odd with this series. So I'm just so excited to be rereading it and documenting my whole experience on my channel. So I'm not very far in the book. I am on page 68, and that is chapter 5, The Whomping Willow. Where I left off was the scene where Harry and the Weasleys were in Diagon Alley getting all of their school supplies for Hogwarts. And they have just met Gilderoy Lockhart, which of course is very entertaining. His character is just ridiculous and really funny, so that's one thing that I'm looking forward to with reading this installment. What's actually funny, I feel like I have an unpopular opinion about this, but Chamber of Secrets is actually my personal favorite of the Harry Potter movies. From what I remember of reading the books, Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite book, but I will see if my opinion changes with this reread. But yeah, Chamber of Secrets was my favorite movie. I just like loved the aesthetic of it. So yeah, obviously I'm not very far, but I did want to talk about just a couple of little things. I did put an orange tab. I use orange tabs for like funny or cute moments, and it's the scene where Mr. Dursley is having some clients over for like a dinner party, and he is asking like Petunia, what is she going to do when they arrive, and Dudley, and then he turns to Harry and he says, and you? And Harry says, I'll be in my bedroom making no noise and pretending I'm not there. And I literally put big mood. You probably can't see that, but I literally wrote big mood. And then of course we've met Dobby, which like Dobby is one of my favorite characters from this entire series. I love him so much. He's just so adorable. And there was also this one other little scene that I did want to talk about, even though it's not important at all to the plot, but there's this scene when essentially, you know, the Weasleys, being it's Ron, Fred, and George, rescue Harry in the flying car, and they go back to the Weasleys' house, and as punishment for taking their father's flying car, Mrs. Weasley tells them to go denome the garden, and I think that scene is just so adorable. It's only like 2 pages. They basically like take these little creatures out of the garden, and they basically like throw them like a lasso and throw them like over the fence of their garden so that they will be dizzy and won't be able to find their way back into the garden. And so then once all the other gnomes see what they're doing, they all just start leaving voluntarily with like their shoulders hunched, and it's just so cute. It's like, it's not an important scene, obviously. That's going to be it for this little reading update. I think while I'm at it, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the other books that I'm reading right now. The first book that I want to talk about is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a book that I've definitely been interested in, but I probably wouldn't have picked it up on my own. The reason why I did is because I'm a part of a book club with some lovely ladies that I met here on BookTube, and this was the pick for the month of September. So we've just been reading it together, and it's been really great because we have decided to read it over the course of 10 days, which is really great because it is a very, very chunky book. This book is over 800 pages. And so it's been good to have those 10 days to read the book. So I've only had to read about 50 to 100 pages per day, which is really great because this is an adult high fantasy standalone novel, and it's definitely kind of complicated in terms of all the different names and all the different places that are kind of thrown at the reader and all the different POVs and things like that. I will say that the first 100 pages were quite a struggle for me to get through, but once I got past that, I really have been starting to enjoy this story. So yeah, I'm also reading this physically, and then for my audiobook, I'm about to start listening to Blood Promise by Rochelle Mead. This is book 4 of the Vampire Academy series. I literally just finished listening / physically reading Shadow Kiss, which is the 3rd book, which I really, really enjoyed. This series is so good, and I'm a little mad at myself that I never read it when I was a teenager, because this would have been like my other Twilight kind of obsession. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it, and I'm glad that I found the audiobook for this specific installment on Libby, so I'll be able to listen to it while I am driving to rehearsal tonight. So yeah, that's going to be it for this whole reading update, and I will probably talk to you guys at some point tomorrow. Hey guys, so it is Tuesday afternoon. I am going to get ready to leave for opera rehearsal in a little while, so I thought I would give you guys my reading update for the day. So, Chamber of Secrets, I am now on page 170, and you know what? I'm gonna be quite honest with you guys. There was a whole stretch of this book, I would say from about page 90, which is where I picked up reading today, to about page like 146. It was actually a little tedious to get through, and it wasn't the most interesting. Some of it just kind of felt like filler, to be quite honest, because there's a bulk of a whole chapter that is dedicated to Nearly Headless Nick and his 500th death day party, and it was just kind of boring to me. I just like didn't really care about it. I mean, the ghosts are an interesting concept and stuff, but it just wasn't contributing anything to the plot. There were a couple of other events that were happening, mainly just, you know, Harry, Ron, and Hermione being in their classes and stuff, and it just wasn't the most interesting, if I'm being honest. But at about page 146, we have finally gotten to the main plot of the story, which is when they all discover the bloody message on the wall that says that the Chamber of Secrets has been opened and that the enemies of the air beware, and then Mrs. Norris is petrified. Now we're finally kicking into the interesting part of the story. I was on chapter 9, which was the writing on the wall. They have just started discussing using the Polyjuice potion to try to get answers out of Malfoy. So I do think that from here, the story is going to be much better paced and it's going to be much more interesting. I'm starting to see why Chamber of Secrets seems to be a lot of people's least favorite book in the series for the reasons that I just said. I don't know, I feel like maybe the plot of this one might be the least compelling as well of all the books. You know, something else that I've noticed is that Ron has a lot of lines, especially in this book. I didn't really notice in Philosopher's Stone, but he has a lot of lines in this book that were given to Hermione in the movies. And I feel like that was done in an effort to just make Hermione look as smart as possible and to kind of make Ron look dumb. Ron is actually pretty knowledgeable and he knows what he's talking about, and there's a lot of stuff that he talks about that Hermione couldn't and wouldn't know, such as the whole scene where Hermione gets called a mudblood by Draco Malfoy. Ron is actually the one who explains what that is and why it's so offensive. And I just think that makes sense because obviously Ron has been raised in the wizarding world and Hermione has, you know, no idea of things like that, of like offensive terms and things like that, and Harry wouldn't know either. So I do think that it makes sense that Ron would be the one to educate them about all of this stuff. So I am gonna go chill for a little bit and then get ready to go to rehearsal. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, back at it again with McDonald's.
Back at it again at Krispy Kreme.
Because I am trash. So I wanted to give you guys a reading update. It is now Thursday afternoon. It's been a little while since I last updated you. I am now on page 199 of Chamber of Secrets. So I don't think I'll have a problem finishing it tonight before I go to bed, and then I will film like my final wrap-up / review tomorrow at some point. I don't have a ton of thoughts. I did have like a couple of things I wanted to discuss. I do think that overall this book is kind of a sophomore slump. That's a little shocking to me just because I love the movie version of Chamber of Secrets so much. I feel weird criticizing any of these Harry Potter books because even though I've only read them once, in my mind they were just like perfection, and it's very interesting to notice now that they are not perfect. One thing I'm going to discuss is the whole thing with the diary and Harry. So he finds this diary just discarded on the floor of the bathroom that Moaning Myrtle haunts, and so Harry picks it up, and then in the book it plays out a little bit differently than in the movie. Basically in the book, I think his book bag ends up like on the floor or something and everything topples out, and a bottle of ink that he had in there spills on all of his books, and then he notices that the diary has no ink spilled on it somehow. He opens the diary, he gets his quill, and a drop of ink goes onto the book, onto the page, and it immediately disappears. And I always kind of thought this was weird, that like his first instinct then was to just write like, "Hi, I'm Harry," like, "Hey girl," like, what? Like, I don't, that still doesn't really make sense to me, like why he decides to introduce himself to this book, to this diary. I don't know, like that just like wouldn't be my first instinct. I might try to write something in it, but I wouldn't have written like a greeting of some kind. And so I thought that the book would explain that a bit better, but it doesn't. It plays out, that part of the scene plays out pretty much the same way that it does in the movies. I also just ended on the part where they went and saw Aragog, the big spider, and that scene plays out a little bit differently too from the movie. It's, for one thing, it's interesting to me that in the book, the spiders just kind of let him and Ron go. Like, the car comes out of nowhere and like the doors open and they get in and then they just like drive away, and like none of the spiders run after them or anything. So like so I think in the movie that scene plays out a little bit better, in that like the spiders are trying to get them. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for my update for now. I am overall really enjoying it. At this point, I do think I'm going to give it a 4 stars, which again is shocking to me that I would rate any of these books less than 5 stars, but I will definitely go into all of that in my wrap up and review, but that is going to be it for now. Hey guys, it's Friday night. I finished Chamber of Secrets last night, and so I thought I would give you my overall review and wrap up so I could go ahead and edit this vlog and post it. So, I am overall giving this 4 stars, and I don't think anyone is more shocked than me that I am not giving a Harry Potter book 5 stars. But I do think that this book suffers a bit from the sophomore slump, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I think that this book lacks a bit of the charm and nostalgia that Philosopher's Stone has, while at the same time it also lacks the depth and the world building that the later books have. While I did overall enjoy this installment, I talked about this earlier in the vlog that I did think there were a few scenes throughout that I just think weren't all that necessary. One thing that I thought was interesting was that there's a lot of scenes in this book that move a lot faster than they do in the movie. I talked already about the scene with Aragog and the spiders, but another scene I wanted to bring up is the scene at the very end when they actually go into the Chamber of Secrets. And Harry is facing Tom Riddle and the basilisk at this point. This scene plays really fast in the book, actually. Basically, the basilisk comes out and Fawkes the Phoenix comes out right away and pierces his eyes, and Harry pretty instantaneously finds the sword out of the sorting hat and stabs the basilisk. And then Harry's first instinct is to immediately take the fang that was in his arm and to stab the diary. It's not explained at all as to why he thinks to do this. I kind of wish that his mindset would have been explained a little bit more. So yeah, on the one hand, I appreciate that J.K. Rowling just kind of went straight to the point with a lot of like the action-packed scenes in this book. But on the other hand, I kind of liked how in the movie the final battle was drawn out a little bit more, just so that we as watchers can see how high the stakes are and how difficult it is to beat this monster. One thing that also makes me really sad about my reading experience with this book is that I used absolutely none of my dark purple tabs. I used dark purple tabs for quotes that I really love, and this book really lacked quotes. I was actually really surprised to see that there weren't any really great Dumbledore quotes at the very end. So yeah, I think it's a solid installment, but I can definitely see why this book is a lot of people's least favorite of the series, and I do think that by the time I get to Deathly Hallows, I will agree with that sentiment. And yeah, that's going to be it for this Harry Potter reading vlog, you guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you would consider subscribing. Don't forget to push that notification bell button below so that you will be notified every time I upload. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!